Good morning. Today we're going to be reviewing the gamesense radar pad right here, which is gamesense's first mouse pad that they're releasing alongside their, well, they're not releasing it alongside the Meta, but kind of in the same time span as the gamesense Meta, which is their S2 type mouse. And this is basically supposed to be a nice control surface, definitely not anywhere near something that I've been reviewing lately, which is speed pads. But I wanted to try something new, and I wanted to see how this would work out for me. And yeah, this is my review. Starting off with the Glide, it is an uncoated pad, which is always a positive. It's super smooth out of the box, but it kind of wears in after like about a week. I've had it a little bit less than a week. It's still smooth, but it's not as silky as it was when I first got it out of the box. There's a pretty noticeable X and Y difference, with the Y being much more smooth and slick compared to the rougher X. I feel like the Y is a little bit faster as well compared to the X. It bothered me in game a little bit, but I noticed especially that my 360s would often move my crosshair up or down a little bit more. Like sometimes I would, instead of going left and right just in a straight line, it would go a little bit up just a little bit, or a little bit down, especially when I was doing 360s in Valorant. It's not a big deal. I definitely could get used to it, but it's just something to keep in mind. I do notice a little bit of static friction whenever I change directions, especially. I feel it then. Tracking is very easy, but it's not as smooth as the GTFX or the Infinity, in my opinion. I feel like for those pads, tracking is probably in its best form, but tracking isn't that bad in this pad just because of how smooth and plush it is. Flicks are really crisp, but micro adjusting isn't the best due to the static friction, so small adjustments for headshots or whatever in Valorant, I noticed that it was a little bit more difficult. The pad is also quite plushy. It has a lot of give to it, which allows for more control when you apply pressure if you're one of those people. It slowed down a little bit when my room got really hot, which I noticed. I noticed GameSense actually mentioned that their pads are not affected by humidity. I don't know much about humidity right now since it's just really cold, but when my room got really hot, it hurt my tracking a little bit because it slowed down. It got a little bit muddy, not to the point of something like the GSRSE or another pad, but I did notice that it did get a little bit slower. But it's still, you know, like it's not horrible. It was definitely smoother and faster though when it was cold. Moving on to the durability in this pad, it's very well built. The pad itself, it is very smooth and it's a very tight weave, and I feel like it would get damaged easily, so I would be very wary of when you wash this pad, to be very gentle and very careful with it so as to not fray the main pad of it. The stitched edges are very rough, but they're very sturdy as well. They're very, I guess the way to put it is rustic. They're very, it feels like they're almost handmade, and they're like, in the sense that it's very rough. The surface is very smooth even when broken in, as I said. Oh, also I forgot to mention the logo is like dyed into the pad, which is something I love to see, since there's no way that this is gonna bother you because it's not printed on with like an ink or something. Oh, and also I keep forgetting to mention these things. The base, dude, the base on this mouse pad, it's amazing. It does not move. I will move my desk before I move this mouse pad, honestly. This is the best base I've ever used on a mouse pad ever. I don't remember my artisan pad, or not mine, but my friend's artisan pads, but dude, this is incredible how good this base is. This is like this should be a selling point. Lastly is the feel of this mouse pad. It's very smooth and very plush on the wrists, but if you do have sweaty wrists, sweaty hands, sweaty arms, anything like that, you will know that this pad turns into a mud pad for your wrists, basically. It doesn't affect your mouse, but on your wrists and your arm, especially if you're not wearing a sleeve, it gets very muddy and very slow and jittery a little bit like that. I found that to be the biggest downside besides the X and Y difference, since my wrists get really sweaty and it would just ruin my tracking and, smoothing around corners in Valorant and CSGO. Also, this is a pretty squishy pad, which, it comes with its benefits. I prefer really stiff pads, but to each their own. And the edges are obviously rough, and they did bother me in game, so I would have to pull my mouse pad over my desk so that it wouldn't bother me. This pad is definitely a good contender for one of the really good control pads, like actually like pure control, especially because it does tracking very well as well. So it's not like you're trading off tracking to have good flicks. So yeah, I may not have had the best experience with this pad, but I know that it's more of my fault than the pad's fault, and I definitely see that other people can definitely enjoy this. And while it's not for me, I can still recommend this. I give this a good 8 out of 10. This definitely has places to work on, definitely with the issues with condensation on your wrists and stuff, the X and Y difference especially. But if they could figure that out, I feel like this could be a definite recommend for control pad users, or somebody who wants to try a control pad without shelling out all the money for a Zero Soft or, you know, whatever. But that's my review. I give it an 8 out of 10. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you for the support. Like, comment, share, subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Bye bye.